This is your prophecy update. We're going to talk today about the world government prophesied in the end time. Revelation 13, 1 through 8 describes the end time world government and the leader of that entity, the Antichrist, as both of them as the beast. Another characteristic of the same beast, found in Revelation 17, 3, is that it is a scarlet or a red-colored beast. From the prophecy of the first four seals, Revelation chapter 6, verse 1 through 8, along with further clues given in Zechariah chapter 6, verse 1 through 8, we know that the red spirit is controls the ideologies of a segment of mankind today, and that is communism or socialism, i.e. Red Russia, Red China. Many of you have heard about these. From these two prophecies, we know that the end-time world government will be a socialistic entity. However, the most odious aspect of this entire prophecy is found in Revelation 13:2, which states, "And the dragon gave this entity, this world government and this world leader, his power, his seat, and his great authority." The identity of the dragon is found in Revelation chapter 12, verse 9. And it states, "And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, the devil, and Satan." So we know that the dragon is the devil or Satan. Well, what do we learn by tying these prophecies together? Well, the end-time world government will be a socialistic entity that will be ruled by a physical man, the Antichrist, but will receive its power and authority from Satan himself. That's right. Satan is setting the agenda for the world governing entities on earth today. And it is a direct fulfillment of Bible prophecy. Ever wonder why the United Nations has such an obsession with Israel? Well, it's not because there are so many Arabs opposed to the existence of the nation of Israel. No. The real reason is that God stated 37 times in the Old Testament that He would place His name in Jerusalem. Since then, Satan has been fighting for control of that city. There's been 40 major wars fought over the city of Jerusalem throughout time. Since Satan is the driving force behind the current world government, well, it's no wonder that the United Nations is obsessed with demonizing Israel every chance it gets. Let's consider the current United States ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley. Consider the bias of the United Nations that she's facing against the nation of Israel when she goes there to the United Nations. This is not simply a political issue. Now that you know the prophecies, you understand it's a true battle of good and evil. The Washington Free Beacon reports that Nikki Haley slammed the BDS movement at the UN recently, and it is rooted in an ancient hatred, and it has no connection with justice at all. It's what she's facing at the United Nations. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, lambasted the boycott, divestment, and sanction the BDS movement against Israel yesterday during her keynote speech at the second annual Ambassadors Against BDS event at the United Nations Security Council. The BDS is a Palestinian-led movement to wage economic war on Israel in an attempt to delegitimize the Jewish state. Supporters argue that it is an effort to push back against an Israeli occupation of Palestinian lands. Well, Nikki Haley, who was the first governor in the United States to sign legislation to combat the BDS movement, has been an outspoken supporter of Israel in her brief time as the ambassador to the UN, and was a crowd favorite Monday when she spoke at the American Israel Public Affairs Committee's, or the AIPAC, annual policy conference. She stated, "The day of Israel bashing at the UN, it's over." She stated that at the AIPAC, of course, to a huge applause. During her remarks yesterday, Haley took on the BDS movement, which has gained traction on many Western college campuses, including in the United States. The effort to delegitimize the state of Israel being waged on college campuses and the anti-Israel obsession at the UN are one and the same, she said. They both seek to deny Israel's right to exist. They are both efforts to intimidate her friends and embolden her enemies. They are both extensions of an ancient hatred. Haley called it tragic that the UN and many human rights activists devote much of their energy to targeting Israel, the only real democracy in the Middle East, when authoritarian states around the world are committing human rights abuses. She states, and how tragic is it that of all the countries in the world to condemn for human rights violations, those voices choose to single out Israel. She stated, we should boycott North Korea. We should sanction Iran. We should divest from Syria, not Israel. What's Israel done to anybody? It makes absolutely no sense, and it has no connection to any reasonable definition of justice. Haley told the audience that it has the ability to let BDS supporters know that the United States has Israel's back. Israel's ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, praised Haley for her commitment to defending Israel. He stated, "Thank you, Ambassador Haley, for recognizing the dangers of BDS and for being the first U.S. governor to sign legislation against the BDS movement. And thank you, Ambassador Haley, for the strong stance taken by the U.S. for condemning all forms of anti-Semitism." Danon added that the Ambassadors Against BDS event had a simple message. He stated, "We are here today with a simple message for those who seek to harm the Jewish state and the Jewish people. We will keep fighting until we eliminate BDS completely, from the campuses to the United Nations, and we will keep fighting until anti-Semitism is finally defeated." Over the years, it has been easy to see the bias that the United Nations has against Israel. Nikki Haley is simply voicing her astonishment at how obvious the prejudice really is. However, I want to stress one more time that what we are dealing with here is not simply a political viewpoint, but it is a true battle of good versus evil. It is an ages-old conflict between God and Satan.